Welcome back to A More Perfect Union, the Hill's three-day virtual festival on politics and policy. Our last session today will highlight leadership in action, featuring some of our nation's most important thought-provoking leaders. Before we get underway, a reminder you can tweet us at The Hill Events using the hashtag #TheHillAMPU. AMPU is for A More Perfect Union. We're broadcasting live and we'll take your questions throughout the program. If you experience trouble with the live stream, don't throw your computer through the window, just push refresh, and I hope it will all be well. To kick off the hour, I'm pleased to introduce my first guest, a man who really needs no introduction right now. He is the chair of the Senate Energy and Natural Resources Committee and one of the most high-profile, moderate, centrist Democrats on Capitol Hill today. I'm pleased to welcome Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia. Senator Manchin, everybody's watching.
Steve?
I'm doing great. You know, everybody, is used to media covering the most flamboyant extremists and chasing that. You've become the most flamboyant centrist in the kind of great debates of the day. And I mean that as a compliment. But I'm interested to know where you think things stand right now, in terms of the battles over, really, it's not even Republican versus Democrat anymore. We have a Democrat versus Democrat tension. And as we think about a more perfect union, that's our goal today. Where do you think we're going? How is this going to get reconciled?
Well, to start off with, I think everyone knows that I asked for a strategic pause. And I did that truly after a long deliberation and seeing where we were about a month or so ago and seeing the COVID coming back, the variant, seeing basically inflation coming on pretty strong back then, and it's even got stronger since. And also the fallout that I knew, geopolitical fallout from the Afghanistan exit. So I said, with all the unknown, don't you think we ought to hit the pause? And my reason for that was that under the ARP, which we just did in January, 1.9 trillion with a T, Steve, that I thought, well, we had most of all these areas covered. These areas were covered up through 2022. We didn't have that urgency to do that right now. So I said, let's make sure we can address the unknown if it comes. And that way I said, so let's wait. Well, that ship has sailed. Nobody wanted to. I was very much the minority. And when you said about being in the center, I want you to know it's not real crowded here. I don't have a lot of competition. And the bottom line is we're just trying to do something that we can that helps people, the quality of life they have and the quality of life they could have in a much better way, but also not putting a burden on everybody else and making sure the jobs that we have, the opportunities that we have, the skill sets are ready to meet the 21st century. We're looking at everything. And so we're talking through this and we're trying to put a framework, which I think we'll get a framework. But, the devil's in the details and you got to see the text.
Right.
And so we're working on that.
From your perspective, you just spent Sunday morning with President Biden at his home in Delaware. You recently met Representative Jayapal, who's one of the leaders in the House, and some of the progressive agenda items in their bill. And you've also spent a few hours with Senator Bernie Sanders. So, you're someone that many people know believes in getting together, communicating, talking, figuring out. So how much gap is between all of you now, and have these meetings where you're spending human time with people helped at all in the process?
It helps tremendously. Anytime you know your colleagues, you're always, and the more you know them, the more you have in common maybe that you didn't think you had, the more that you want to work and cooperate together if you can. Getting a chance to spend a few hours with Pramila, Congresswoman Jayapal, getting a chance to spend some hours with Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders. It's helped tremendously. I think hopefully they understand me better. I tell people, I says, I'm a compassionate capitalist. And other people might not consider themselves capitalists. With that, then we have to realize we have some differences. I don't want anything to happen right now because I think that we do need a pause. I'm in a minority there. I could just say, no, I'm not going to do anything. I don't even want to talk or negotiate. But I've been trying to look at and see everyone's position. So I have said this. If I was dealing and the shoe was on the other foot, I'd be happy if someone would talk to me who had the ability to either work with me and help me get something done or decide you get nothing done.
Right.
And I've tried to put myself in the most positive position to help where I think I can and still go home and explain it. That's the big thing, Steve. if I can't go home and explain, I can't vote for it.
Yeah, look,
I'm very careful.
You and I have talked about this. I've also talked to the other side, and I think one of the real questions is, they said, look, over the last many decades, we've seen inequality grow worse in this country. We've seen the wealthier get wealthier, the wealthiest get wealthier. We've seen folks feel like they've been left behind and not have the same opportunities. We've seen, student debt just amass at huge levels, and, folks aren't going to be able to work that off. And, there's this concern about childcare and just sort of helping those people that are on the lesser end of that equation in the country. And so I guess the question that people have in trying to address that, what do you do to kind of begin diminishing that divide in the country so that we do have not two Americas living in the same disunion, but people committed to a union and a great country, but feel like they're not being screwed by the system?
Well, first of all, the president and I were speaking, and he said, Joe, what do you think? And I said, and he's a very good listener, and he'll always ask you for your input. And I said, Mr. President, the way I evaluate this and see everything is that there's only one thing that I know all of us Democrats that have a D by our name, whether you're moderate, centrist, conservative, or liberal, we all agreed that the 2017 tax cuts were weighted in the wrong direction and very unfair for the average American and working people in West Virginia. So we voted against it, all Democrats. Don't you think you should start with trying to have a fair and balanced tax system in our country? Make sure the IRS is able to do the job it was intended to do, go after people that just evade their taxes, won't pay their taxes, or scam the system. Those are the things we start agreeing and should agree on. But this thing has grown to a complete, if you will, a total social reform. And I've always said this, you've got to get your fiscal house in order to do any of the other things you like to do. You can't dig the hole deeper. So I'm all for that. And you said pre-K, 3- and 4-year-olds. I believe that that's the best investment we can make. Give them structure, give them nutrition, give them some direction. And that's the most developable time that they're going to have, I think, if they're going to be successful adults. And then childcare. Childcare's all around working. I'm all for helping working families, working individuals, single moms, single dads that would have a chance to make sure their child is taken care of in the safety and the loving care of a good child care system. And we're expanding that to faith-based churches. We can't start a whole nother government system, but we have churches all over that could just jump in and do a terrific job in child care. And so we're looking at every way we can to do that. End of life, Steve. I think that every elderly person that needs assistance and want to live with the dignity and respect that they've always had in their life have a chance to stay at home with some assistance. I'm for that. I'm for a lot of these things, but expanding all the social programs for the sake of expanding them when you can't even maintain what you have or pay for what you have, Steve, is a real challenge. And I've said Medicare 2026 insolvent. I know when these trust funds go insolvent, people start getting cut back, or they have to pay more into it, or their premiums would cost, or basically they go to the doctor and a doctor says, I'm not going to take Medicaid anymore or Medicare anymore because reimbursements are so low from the federal government. Those are the things we don't want to happen. In my state, Social Security and Medicare is the lifeline. And I'm going to make sure those are solid and solvent.
Senator, we're right just a few days away from the UN climate change conference starting in Glasgow. The United States has taken this. You've met with Secretary Kerry and Envoy Kerry going there. I'm interested in where you're at because you're well known to be worried about the coal miners in West Virginia. How are they going to eventually fit into climate-friendly policies? And as we lead into Glasgow, where are you with the president's plan?
Sure. Well, first of all, the president's going to be able to take into Glasgow that the United States of America is the only one that's made an effort to reduce the fossil use in our country. When you look 10 years down the road, 10 years ago, China had about 1,700 coal-fired plants. They're up to 2,991, and they're building another 460. 10 years ago, India had like 550, and now they're up to 800 or 900, building another 100. 10 years ago, the United States of America had 585 coal-fired plants. We're down to 504. We're the only nation that he's going to go speak to that has reduced its fossil consumption. 20 years ago, Steve, 52% of electricity in America came from coal-fired production of units that basically made electricity. Now we're down to 19%. So yes, we've done a lot. We've removed enough carbon. We've removed more particulates and more mercury than any other country. And that's what he can say. No one's talk about that. They want to just start eliminating. And I said, you cannot eliminate your way to a clean environment. You can innovate your way, but not eliminate it. So technology is where we're going. And just saying that you're going to pay, they're saying about what Joe Manchin's against the president's climate plan. I am not. I'm against what I know doesn't make sense, is to pay the utilities $150 billion with a B, $150 billion, to basically go ahead and eliminate all their fossil by 2030. The only thing I've been told by every utility company, we'll take your money and we'll try to hold the rates down for that 8 years. But after that, we can't guarantee you reliability, and the prices will go sky high. And that's reliability. And I'm not going to put our country, when I know a little bit about this industry, everyone thinks because I come from West Virginia, I'm just protecting my turf, if you will. And that's not the case. I'm protecting the viability and reliability of the energy grid and what we need to run the most superpower of the world, and continue to do that. And that's having energy independence. And there are people that are determined for us not to have energy independence, and we just have a difference there.
Let me ask you real quickly, finally, Senator, you were known, you spoke about working with, on the phone with Stacey Abrams. You put together a voting rights bill plan. You called it John Lewis Plus. A lot of folks saying, why, when you two crafted something along those lines, you had President Obama applauding what you did, wouldn't you, in order to save the sanctity of voting, to save democracy, not find a way to get a cutout on the filibuster to support a Voting Rights Act?
Steve, in order to save democracy, we better keep the filibuster, because if there's only one thing that basically requires us to work together. And right now we're so tribal in Congress that it's unbelievable. You know, it's what tribe do you belong to? And if you're on the D tribe or the R tribe, you're supposed to be against the other tribe. And it's not who I am. It's not how you get things done. So I think that everyone should work hard, sit down with all of our Republican friends and our Democrats to try to find something we can agree on. It doesn't make sense to me that in 2006, the Voting Rights Act was basically voted on and reaffirmed unanimously, all Democrats and Republicans. And now you're saying we're so far apart, we can't even agree on how we can protect the sanctity of voting, the bedrock of democracy. Is anyone really trying? They might talk about it and they just say, oh no, I know they're not for it. They're all going to be against it. The easy thing to do, Steve, is to get rid of the filibuster and do what you want. Guess what? We Democrats used it tremendously to our advantage against Donald Trump. Okay, but all of a sudden now, we don't need it because it's not benefiting us. Well, wait a minute. If our Republican colleagues didn't get rid of it when Donald Trump beat on them every day, you can do this. Then I don't know. I was against it when Harry Reid did it in 2013. I was against it when Mitch McConnell did it in 2017, and I'm against getting rid of it now.
Is Joe Biden still on your Christmas card list?
Well, he'll always be on my Christmas card list. What you're asking, am I on his?
Yes.
I hope so.
Well, Senator Joe Manchin, chairman of the Senate Energy Committee, and right now in the eye of a bunch of different political storms all hitting at the same time, thank you so much for headlining this portion of our forum and helping us think through what a more perfect union looks like. Thank you so much, Senator.
A more perfect union, Steve, takes an awful lot of work. And but God bless America, because we're still the greatest country on earth. And it's not called the United States for nothing. And it's definitely not called a divided state. So we better start worrying about our country and quit allowing our politics to divide us.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. Good to be with you.